Hello everyone, welcome back to Rory Football. I know what you're thinking, face cam at last. I bought basically the cheapest tripod I could find on Amazon, so if the camera's a bit wonky or whatnot, that's why like I've said many a time, I want to invest as little into YouTube and get as much out of it. So here we are. Anyway, it's the international break, which to us makes us realise just how little we do with our lives when it isn't football. It's a bit concerning, really. You know, I'm sort of 22 years old and I'm still waiting for a bunch of players who I'm never ever going to meet, who don't know who I am, just to mean that I have something to watch and talk about on the daily, because I find international football incredibly boring. However, for players, playing for your country is as good as it gets. That's what you dream of growing up as a young footballer. It's probably the thing, I'd say, which has the biggest disparity between player excitement and fan excitement. I think everything else, like new signings or new kits or whatnot, is sort of a similar level. However, players really, really like playing for their country, whereas fans fucking hate international football, unless, of course, it's a major tournament. So what I'm going to do is look at players who have reached the international level, so to speak, are international footballers, however, have only done it once. That's right, it's a one cap wonders 11 and subs bench. Pretty much looking at players who you probably were surprised played for England, a lot of them. I know I was. A lot of these players are the sort of middlemen of football, the journeymen, the too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League. You know, these sort of players are what is going to be making up a bulk of the content on this channel and already has. So without further ado, we've been messing around for too long now. Let's get into One Cap Wonders 11. Goalkeeper Chris Kirkland. Yeah, that's right. Our goalkeeper for our One Cap 11 is a goalkeeper who used to wear a cap when he played. It just works too well to leave it out, and that is why he gets a number one spot. Chris Kirkland, Champions League winner Chris Kirkland, is one of those goalkeepers. He's sort of in like the bold American goalkeeper kind of category. He kind of only exists so players score banging goals against him, and he plays for like lower mid-table sides for the majority of his career. However, he is also one of these players whose family bet on him playing for England, and then they won loads of money. I can't remember how much it was. I'll put it up on screen. But yeah, Chris Kirkland, for a second half 2006 appearance against Greece, gets the number one spot in this team. Right back, Martin Kelly. Yep, another absolutely bang average player makes it into this side. In fact, the majority, I'll go as far as to say every player in this squad is bang average, lower mid-table Premier League dross who somehow made it into the England squad. Martin Kelly actually made it into the England squad for Euro 2012 apparently, which is ridiculous. He didn't get his England appearance there though. He made one appearance against Norway for 2 minutes, which actually means he's got the shortest England career of any player ever, which, to be fair to him, is probably the most he's ever going to achieve or be remembered for in football. Centre-back, Ryan Shawcross. Couple facts about Ryan Shawcross. One, he's currently playing for Inter Miami, David Beckham's team over in the MLS. And two, he's somehow only 33. Like, I'm pretty sure he was 28 in 2008. How he is only 33 is beyond me. Anyway, he was an absolute staple in that shithouse of side Tony Pulis managed at Stoke. And he made his one England appearance in Sweden, and Zlatan Ibrahimovic made sure he would never play for England again. I feel like every single side in Premier League history, which has finished between 7th and 10th, has one player, usually a centre-back, who they think is better than what they actually are. Their names normally get mentioned when it comes to like major tournaments, like, oh, why don't we throw Ryan Shawcross into the deep end and give him his first England cap? Or another classic is when one of the big teams has a centre-back crisis. You know, you hear stuff like, oh, Scott Dan, he'd be a brilliant signing for Arsenal or some shit like that. So to watch a genuine world-class player like Zlatan Ibrahimovic rip Ryan Shawcross to shreds and destroy these, like, this bullshit idea that because you can win a few headers in the Premier League, you're suddenly like a viable option as an England international, and absolutely destroy that myth was very, very satisfying. Centre-back, Lewis Dunk. Pretty much the modern day version of what I was just talking about. Lewis Dunk, right, was a £40 million target for Chelsea last summer. Like, imagine if we had signed him instead of Thiago Silva. Lewis Dunk partnering, I don't know, like pre-Tuchel Christensen under Frank Lampard, would have probably got relegated. Like, the guy is shit. He's just big. Like, I don't understand the hype. Brighton, like, concede like every chance they face, isn't it? Isn't that why their XG is like all messed up and stuff? So I quite know what the hype around a player who's spent the majority of his career in like the Championship in League One is, I do not know. Anyway, he played in a friendly against USA. I think it was the one when Rooney came back and played. And he's never played since, and will probably never play again. Left back Michael Ball. I actually found left back really hard to find a one cap player. It turns out England left backs have slightly longer international careers than England right backs. Anyway, I picked Michael Ball. I kind of remember him from sort of pre-money City. When City were really shit. Georgia Samaras, Man City. He was in that sort of team. He's won one cap. He plays left back. I can't be bothered to do any more research. If you can think of another left back would be a better fit, comment down below. But yeah, Michael Ball gets left back spot. Right wing, Nathan Redmond. For me, Nathan Redmond is sort of like the perfect one cap wonder player. Like, he would be an England B team if England B team was still around. He's one of these players, I think, which like every manager thinks, oh, I could get the best out of him, then tries to get the best out of him, and it turns out you can't. He's playing at his best. He's a player who has maybe 2 pretty good games, then 7 totally useless ones. Nathan Redmond's also played nearly 40 times for England under 21s, which just seems way too long. I think at that point you've got to accept who you are. You're not good enough for the England first team, but you're perhaps a bit too good for England under 21s. He is such a staple of that weird mid sort of, are they good, are they shit kind of player. That's why he definitely gets right wing spot in this team. Centre mid, Lewis Cook. Mr. Bournemouth, and I'm not saying that in a sense that he's been there for ages or he's their captain or he grew up supporting them. I mean, he is what Bournemouth are, like just so average but sort of slightly technical English players. I'm convinced you can find your Bournemouth player name by taking your dad's first name and your mum's maiden name. Stuart Dalton in my case, which just seems to fit perfectly. It's in a Bournemouth squad. Anyway, he played in a friendly against Italy in 2018 apparently. And actually, he was on standby for the World Cup squad in 2018, which seems like really mad for me because I don't ever remember him being good. In fact, I don't know who he is really. Like, most footballers, I think, if I saw him in the street, I would recognise him. I wouldn't know who this guy is. He's just so average and so plain and so boring. And also, the centre mid in England One Cap Wonders 11. Centre mid, Joey Barton. Joey Barton has got to be one of the most like weird and interesting footballers to have played in the Premier League over the past sort of 20 years or so. I love footballers who on their Wikipedia page have got a section entitled either like controversy or views or something like that, and Joey Barton's section is really long. He once compared UKIP to the best option out of a bunch of ugly girls in the lead up to a general election one time, which basically you can make of that what you want. Joey Barton made his one England appearance in the last 10 minutes of a defeat to Spain in 2007. However, there was something else about Joey Barton which caught me off guard a bit. He turns out he owns a racehorse called Crying Lightning after the Arctic Monkeys song, which doesn't seem too out of character. Like, he's northern, Arctic Monkeys are northern, there's a good chance he likes them, and all footballers own racehorses. However, what is odd about it is it's not entirely his horse. It's co-owned, and the person he co-owns it with is none other than Claudio Pizarro. You know, the one who played for Chelsea for like a season? He co-owns a racehorse with Joey Barton. Like, what? How does that happen? Like, does Claudio Pizarro, well, first of all, know who Joey Barton is, but second of all, know who the Arctic Monkeys are, and let alone a song off what was probably their most forgettable album? Like, have they ever met? Have they even played against each other? They probably shared one season in the same league together, and it went as far as them shaking hands before and after the game, and yet now they own a racehorse together. I don't know, it's odd. I'm no expert on the ownership of racehorses, but for me, something doesn't quite add up there. Anyway, Joey Barton is in the central midfield. Left wing, Matt Jarvis. I actually kind of rated Matt Jarvis when he played for Wolves. I don't know why, because he was quite clearly fucking terrible. Anyway, he got his one England cap in a 1-1 draw with Ghana, which was like the first time a Wolves player had played for England for God knows how long. He's probably the player in this 11 which has had the steepest decline post England cap, because he's currently playing for Woking in the conference at the moment, which seems like, pretty mad considering he was a Premier League footballer at least sort of 6 years ago or something. Striker Jay Boothroyd. Yep, an absolute journeyman, and also another player who fits into the too good for the Championship, probably not good enough for the Premier League. Jay Boothroyd, while playing in the Championship, I think for Cardiff at the time, managed to get on the pitch while England lost 2-1 to France, What's interesting about Buffroyd is, while he is a journeyman, he seems to have had a bit of a career revival in Japan, where he's currently playing. His goal record is so much better there than anywhere else while he's in his 30s, which I love. I love this sort of weird shit. Wikipedia is brilliant, isn't it? Striker Fraser Campbell. Yeah, another one. Too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premier League. Fraser Campbell is just like, he's one of these players, it's like, what is the sort of point in a way? Like, he doesn't score enough goals in the Premier League, but even in the Championship, I don't think he's ever like had like a Jordan Rhodes kind of season. He's just sort of like this, I don't know, he had a bit of a reputation as a youngster, so now he's sort of, you know, consistently sort of having punts taken on him by Championship clubs desperate for a goal scorer. And that is exactly what's happening to him at the moment. He's currently at Huddersfield being incredibly average. Anyway, remember that England game that Stuart Pearce was manager? Well, he gave Campbell his one and only cap in that game, where we lost 3-2 to the Netherlands with Ian Robben scoring a last-minute goal. So that concludes our starting 11, but of course we need a subs bench. Yeah, we need players who aren't getting a cap for the one cap 11. So yeah, we're delving deep into bang fucking average here. Backup goalkeeper, I've got John Ruddy. He played once for England apparently, which I have zero recollection of. Long time tip to be Ross Turnbull's replacement at Chelsea. He's sort of, again, like one of these sort of just players who are there to be embarrassed by actual good footballers. Luis Suarez, most notably for him. Defensive cover, I've got Carl Jenkinson first of all, who actually was potentially going to play for Finland at one point, but England managed to wrestle him away and get an England cap for him, which was against Sweden in the same game. Ryan Shawcross got embarrassed. He's not played since though, so I don't really know what all the fuss is about. Our other defensive option is John Flanagan, who has apparently been arrested for assault before, so maybe he probably shouldn't be in the team, but anyway, I've stuck him in because I couldn't find anyone else. He's actually the nephew of Bradley Orr, for those of you who remember Bradley Orr, which shows that genetically that family can just produce the most average footballers of all time. Covering midfield, we've got former Chelsea youth products, Jack Cork, who isn't quite living up to the hype of other Chelsea youth products, and also the most average player of all time possibly in David Dunn. Both of them have won England caps, and I remember neither of them. But anyway, they're covering us in midfield. Up front, we've got Kevin Davis, one of the most pure Barclays players of all time. He's fouled more people than anyone else in the division, has never ever scored more than 13 goals in a season. Yet he made his England cap when he was 33, which I think is like the second oldest England debutant of all time. And finally, you cannot make a video about one cap wonders than mentioning David Nugent, the man who scored from possibly half a yard out on his one and only England cap and was a journeyman striker who again ripped it up in the lower leagues but was always fucking useless in the Premier League. So yeah, that concludes this video. Let me know if you liked seeing my face. I found it, well, much harder actually than recording, but anyway, I'm happy to do it. I've got a tripod now, so all's good. Let me know if I've missed anyone. I'm aware that some of these players haven't retired from international football or football in general, and so could technically win another cap, but I think I'm pretty safe in saying that none of these players will play for their country again. Yeah, so please subscribe, and I mean please subscribe. I am losing subscribers so quickly since I've restarted, which goes to show that like clearly I'm shit at this, which I'm aware. But anyway, I don't know what my next video is going to be, but just yeah, hit that bell so you're gonna see it if it drops. Also subscribe to my other channel, which is just called Rory. I'll leave a link in the description. On that channel I talk about my other interests and kind of what I do. It's kind of a bit of a random shit show at the moment, but it is actually gaining subscribers quicker than this one, so maybe that means it's better, or maybe it's because, I don't know, my friends think it's more amusing. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, please subscribe. As I said before, like the video, comment, share it, and I'll see you all next time in a bit.
We're gonna play football, football.